Hello all, and welcome to that long-promised sake review that I'm going to be doing on this blustery end of the work week night that we're having here. I'm going to give this review I really need to get a new computer soon review because my computer is starting to crash or freeze nearly constantly. And so I need to go and back up a whole bunch of stuff, and as well as, upload what stuff I do have. And part of that is because I can't really go and back up all my videos on YouTube that I upload to YouTube because they're so large. There's gigabytes upon gigabytes upon gigabytes of these. I tend to upload them, record these at a fairly high resolution for obvious reasons because this camera's kind of garbage even at bad resolutions. But anyways, let's get on to this review, shall we? So this is what I got for the New Year's that I never got around to drinking 15 days ago. Well, 17 days ago. And this is Kubota Ginjyo Genshu. Ginjyo Genshu. It's really nice. They use the same label that they made in Japan. They just put over this product of Japan label. So this is Ginjyo, so that's intermediate grade sake. And that means that it's usually polished about 50% of volume, thereabouts. Ginjyo is polished to about either, I can't remember if it's a third or 30% of the original volume. And that's to gain greater purity of the starch used in the starting mash. Genshu means that it is undiluted. So sake has one of the highest finishing ABVs of alcohol, in that fermentation stops at around 19 to 20% and is then sort of watered down because usually the results of the stop of fermentation is has a little bit too much burn and has a little bit, is a little bit too rich. A lot of the flavor nuances are sort of drowned out by the high ABV. Genshu, they try to go and create something that stands up to the higher ABV. This particular one is 19% ABV. So, pretty high. It's about as high as you can get for a fermented beverage. Now, little known fact, I think maybe I've reviewed a sake once or twice before. It kind of goes to show how many reviews that I've done that I can't even remember what I reviewed over these many, many years and many, many bottles. And the first things I ever started reviewing were sake. So obviously not on YouTube if you go back and look at the history, but when I lived in Japan, well, 10 years ago exactly, almost, on my written blog I wrote a lot of written reviews of sake and Japanese whiskey, and it kind of got me into the bug that I got out of when I returned from Japan, and then got into a bit later. I don't know why I got out of it. I think I got out of it for music's sake, and because I spent less money on alcohol and more money on music, which is probably healthier in some respects, but far more difficult and frustrating. And so now I'm back to reviewing alcohol. So, I gotta upload these, and I don't know if you can notice, there's one of these rough cotton cloth labels. I love those. You only really see those in Japan. So, this is from Asahi Brewery. There are hundreds of sake breweries in Japan, in that they sort of haven't been commercialized like many other sorts of beverages. Example, beer pretty much belonged to a big three sort of conglomerate, big three or big four, I can't remember exactly. But sake has always been, a small locally produced. This Asahi Brewery in Niigata, Japan, dates back to 1830, which is sort of a mid-range in age. It's not the oldest. The oldest go back a couple hundred years before that. But it is also not particularly new either. And it is a fairly well-known brewery within Japan. So this one was brewed in February 8th, 2017. That's around the usual time. Excuse me, frog in my throat. That's around the usual time. Winter is when sake is ideally brewed because of the colder temperatures, being more amenable to the extremely hot temperatures within the brewery, it would be kind of fatal to do it during the summer in Japan, which is incredibly hot and humid. And so the best brewing is considered done in winter and by traditional methods, if at all possible. So since this is supposed to be enjoyed cold, and I've already been yammering on for about 5 minutes, let's get to this, shall we? And for this, I am using a 70s vintage era wine glass. Why? Because I don't really have proper glassware for, really tasting sake, and this kind of, at least, sort of approximates it. And also, I don't want to get too drunk. I'm only going to have a couple glasses of this tonight. And by the way, if you do drink sake, drink it within a couple days. It's not something that keeps very well once opened. It's like white wine. Fairly big glass I just poured myself here. I'm just going to re-refrigerate this to go and keep it fairly fresh. So, coloration. I'm going to go do white towel test here. So, it's filtered, obviously, like most sakes are. Just maybe a slight, filtered clear, just a very, very slight yellowish green tinge to the what is otherwise crystal clear sake. Fairly thick legs. You can see here. It just kind of, I don't know if you can see it too well because it's so cold it's causing condensation, but it sticks up fairly well against the glass. You can see it just holding there. Juicy, juicy pears. Sweet flowers, very continental flowers, not like tropical flowers. Honeysuckle. Not as rich as rose. I don't know, fresh cut, temperate area flowers, but it's reminiscent of that. If I knew those kind of flowers better, I could pick it out. Hints of honeydew melon. Very nice and light and delicate. Doesn't smell heavy like you would expect something that's about 20% ABV to be. All very light top notes, sort of really up here kind of sense of smell. So pears, cantaloupe slash, well, more honeydew actually. And again, various florals. Honeysuckle maybe. Very clean, like a good sake should be. That sort of sock smell that people go and say sake has, well, that's a sign of poor sake. It smells crystal clean like good sake should be. Premium sake should be. Fairly thick on the palate, slightly oily. But enough alcohol that it cuts through at the finish. That thickness and oiliness is just at the front. Alcohol cuts through the finish. And just a slight hint of burn in the finish. Just a slightest ghost of burn. Alcohol burn. Sweetness emerges in the mids, on the sides especially. A deep sense of umami forms on the tongue. And that's one of the things I like about sake and wine that you don't really get from other drinking beverages, is that the more you drink, you don't clean your palate, you sort of develop different feelings in your mouth. This one is sort of sweetness, you know, the immediate thing when you take the first sip is of sweetness, but then just a mouth, absolutely tongue-coating sense of umami develops. And you know that this would be really good with a dish that's kind of high in protein. It would really do well with a sort of richer pieces of sashimi. Richer in terms of texture, not in terms of flavor. So you don't really want, you know, the bright red tuna. You want one of the more the pinkish sort. Or perhaps even salmon. Salmon would be an excellent one to pair with this. Hints of ocean as it warms up in the front. Just slight hints of, I wouldn't say brininess, but sort of sea breeze. Oddly enough, for something that's so heavy in florals on the nose, it's very muted florally on the palate into the effervescent. You think it would rise up into the nose and get sort of floral there, but it's actually pretty muted. You know, once it's inside your mouth, you know. Definitely that sweet melon taste as it warms up. It broadens a bit as it's warming up, but I wouldn't really want to have this too warm or heated. Very rarely do you drink premium sake heated. You usually drink it chilled to slightly chilled, sometimes room temperature, very rarely heated. Honestly, a great sake, the only sort of drop, you know, complex, one develops wonderfully on the palate with time. The only real drawback I can see is that just drinking the, this is actually, like certain kinds of wine, sake, certain, you know, this one is a little bit too heavy to have by itself. This one I would definitely pair with a food of some sort. I've read some reviews of this where it says it also goes, you know, if you're not in the mood for Japanese food, you know, like sashimi, which is generally what you go for, don't go for sushi. That's one thing I have to, I don't think I've mentioned that before. Generally, don't go for sushi when you have sake. The vinegared taste of the rice in sushi kind of, it ruins the nuances of flavor in premium sake. If you're having sushi, drink beer. That's a great way. That's that actually pairs great with it. A nice light Japanese beer. Sake, you want something that is, you know, not too overwhelming in flavor, but, you know, will clear the palate and, you know, bring out, you know, that will help it, both the sake and the food itself, bring out different nuances and interplay with each other, as any good pairing should be. So definitely, Sashimi is the go-to with sake. And for reasons I can't... This one, they also recommended tempura. I read like a short blurb on a blog. This one didn't have very many reviews on sake sites. Tempura, which I can see, definitely. Might be a little bit too oily if you have low-quality tempura. Make sure you have like freshly made tempura in good oil. And for reasons I can't fathom, barbecued meats. Barbecued in the sense of grilled, yeah, maybe I might have some interesting things in char, but something with barbecue sauce or teriyaki sauce, no way. I digress. The only real drawback here is the sort of heat from the fact that it's not diluted. It's fairly quick, shows up in the mid to finish, kind of briefly makes itself known. And, you know, just the fact that in the lingering flavor, it really needs something to go with it. It's just a little bit too much. It coats too much in that finish and comes overwhelming in that long lasting finish if you're not having it with something. And so I highly suggest that this would be an excellent one to pair with sashimi, as I've already mentioned. Now, this, I don't know when you'll find it. Like I said, it was actually it's hard to find reviews. Their Ginjyo, their highest grade sake, is very well known. It's covered in most high-end, it's carried by most high-end Japanese restaurants. So if you see the name, I put the bottle away already, and I've had a little bit too much to drink. Komagata from Niigata Prefecture. Ginjyos, definitely go and try it. I haven't tried it myself, but the reviews are all raving about it. So, and this is a good entryway. This cost about $26. Mainland price point is about $30. I know in Japan it would be about 2,000 yen, which is $20. So they keep all the good sake in Japan and fairly affordable because it is their local product. And this is kind of running to one of the longest reviews I've ever done so far because I kind of rambled a bit in the beginning. But it's been a exceedingly long, well over a year since I've had high quality sake, and I have to say I am well and truly chuffed with this. And I highly recommend it. So let me go and get the bottle out again. And I really, looking at it, I screwed up the name. This is Kubota Ginjyo Genshu. The Kubota line is an excellent line. So if you see it at a Japanese restaurant, definitely give it a shot. And, I apologize for getting the name wrong once there. It's kind of shameful. Shameful display for someone who lived in Japan for a year and was once fluent in the language. Now, I am probably going to go and listen to some enka music, both today and tonight, because I am not going to drink this all tonight. I'm going to try to get at least maybe a third of it gone, so I can finish the rest of the bottle with some sashimi tomorrow. And that is your sake review for tonight. Here's to hopefully doing more of these in the future. But first, I need to get what I've recorded right now uploaded because I have such a backlog. I'm either recording like a frenzy, or stopping recording so I can kind of like upload in a frenzy. That's your review for tonight, folks. Cheers. Or sake. Why am I thinking cheers? That's your sake review for tonight, folks. Kanpai. That wasn't supposed to be like a racist caricature. That was supposed to be me pretending to be George Takei. Yeah, sorry about that.